Hey there guys, Zach here for Windows Central and welcome back to another video. Now today we're taking a look at the Windows 10 November 2019 update. Also known as version 1909, this is Microsoft's second major update for Windows 10 this year, and it's not actually that major this time around. Now I know I feel like I've been saying that with the last 2 or 3 major feature updates for Windows 10, but this time I really mean it. This is a very minor update for Windows 10, so much so, if you're already running version 1903, this update will just apply like a normal monthly security patch. It won't require much time to install and will just simply sit on top of 1903. Think of it as a service pack, if you will. It's a service pack for the May 2019 update that was released earlier this year, just with some minor features and enhancements here and there, but most of it being under the hood. So with that in mind, this video is going to take a look at the surface level features and changes that are in 1909. So all of the under the hood stuff we're not really going to talk about because that's under the hood stuff and I can't show it to you, but I can show you some of the minor features and enhancements they've added on the surface. So diving straight in, the first noteworthy change with version 1909 is the ability for the Start menu's hamburger menu to open automatically when you hover over it. So if I just hover here, you'll see that the hamburger menu opens just like that. Now, this apparently wasn't a thing before. Microsoft is highlighting it as a feature in version 1909. In the past, you would have to press this button up here to get access to the titles of whatever's pinned in the hamburger menu here. So being able to just hover over it is a nice addition. Now this has actually been possible within apps for a while. Some app makers have been able to enable this functionality, but now it's in the Start menu and Microsoft is very proud of this fact. So if you've always wanted to have the hamburger menu automatically open when you hover over it, that's now a feature in version 1909. Pretty nice. Moving right along, the next noteworthy change in this update is the ability to add events to your calendar straight from the taskbar. If we come down to the date and time flower here and click on it, there's now a text box up here which will allow me to type in an event or reminder, which is then added straight to the calendar app on Windows 10, which then syncs with my Microsoft account and across all of my devices. So if we add an event here, we type birthday party, you'll see that I can control how long this event lasts. So I can say from 7 to 8:03, why not? I can then also add a location, so let's say TARDIS, and press on save. And now this event has been added to my calendar, and if I click on that, that will take me into the calendar app where I can see that event that I've just added, and I can click on that to change any more details if I need to. So that's a nice change that most calendar users will appreciate. You can now quickly add calendar events straight from the taskbar instead of having to go into the calendar app to do that. Very nice indeed. Now, moving on to some of the more substantial changes in this release, Microsoft has changed up how users customize notifications on Windows 10. So you'll notice up here there's now a Manage Notifications button, and if I click on that, that will take me into the Settings app, which will allow me to customize a whole bunch of things, such as what apps are allowed to send notifications, how those notifications show up, etc, etc. So if we scroll down here, the first notable change in this UI is that this list is now organized by most recent by default. Previously it was alphabetical, which was fine, but that's not very handy if an app that begins with Z shows up in the notification center and you want to turn that off. You'd have to come into here and scroll all the way to the bottom of the list. But if it just come through, you can set to most recent and it would be at the very top. So it's just a quicker way to access the apps that you want to customize notifications with, which is very nice indeed. Now, if we jump into one of these areas, so if we jump into Skype, for example, there's now a new UI here that sort of consolidates a whole bunch of settings into one area that you can now customize for this specific app. So as you can see at the top here, I can turn notifications on and off entirely if I want to, or I can customize individual aspects of how those notifications show up on the system. So I can enable or disable show notifications banners, show notifications in Action Center. I can also hide the content when notifications are on the lock screen. And I can also turn off whether or not I want to play a sound when that notification pops up. I can also change the number of notifications visible in the Action Center. So if I open up an app here, I have an app installed that allows me to force a whole bunch of notifications. If we go into here and pop this a few times, if we open 5 of them, for example, you'll see that in the Action Center by default it only shows 3, and to see the others I have to press on this See More button. But if we change this to 5, for example, I will now see all 5 of those without having to press a See More button. So that's handy for those of you who have an app that's constantly sending notifications that you really need to see. You can have it up to 20, so any more than 20 then it will ask you to see more. But otherwise that's pretty nice. By default it is set to 3 though, just to keep the notification center nice and clean. Below that is the priority for notifications. Now this isn't a new feature. In fact, none of this is technically new. It's just all of these options were spread out across the settings app before in weird places. They've now been consolidated into one area so users can customize it more easily. But down here, the priority area allows you to set the priority of apps. So a top priority app will always show up at the very top of the notification center. High priority apps will show just below top priority, and then normal priority apps will just show up below that whenever they come in based on time. So that's how that works, and you can customize which apps are top and high priority if you want to. I believe only one app can be top priority, so if I click on this one, for example, it will ask me to change my currently set top priority app, which by default is Cortana. But you can do that if you so please. There's also these tick boxes up here which just allow you to generally turn on and off notification related features. So I can turn off tips and tricks, for example, or I can turn off show me the Windows welcome experience after updates, and I can also turn off notifications on the lock screen if I really want to. Finally, when it comes to notifications, if we pop one more here, you'll see that if I hover over it, there's now a quick access button to the area which I was just in. If I click on this, that'll give me a context menu which allows me to go to the notification settings page. So here, or I can turn off all the notifications from this app directly from this context menu. So if I click on that and then back out of here, you'll see that this app is no longer set to show notifications at all, which is super handy. So if an app comes in that you never want to see a notification from again, you can just simply enable that through the context menu without having to go into settings first, which is super nice. Okay, so last but not least, Microsoft has updated the Search UI in Windows 10's File Explorer. It's now powered by Windows Search, which is the same thing that powers this Search UI down here. And what it primarily does is allows the user to search not only their local PC, but their OneDrive storage as well. So it's tied to the cloud. If you're logged in with a Microsoft account and you use OneDrive to store things like documents and photos, this search bar is now useful to you because you can search for things in your OneDrive, even if they're not locally present on your device. So for example, I can search for a PDF here called Getting Started with OneDrive, and this is a file that isn't on my device locally. As you can see here, it's stored in my OneDrive right now, and if I click on that, that will then sync to my device and then open up in my PDF reader of choice, which is super handy. If you're somebody who uses OneDrive to store all of their files, the search bar within File Explorer is now much more useful to you. It also has some general UI improvements. It also works with local files, of course, so if I search for back here, this is an image that's stored in my pictures folder, which is local on this device, and I can click on that and that will just launch it as normal. So yeah, it works for local and cloud-based files, which is super handy, and it also just has a slightly cleaner UI than the previous Search UI as well. So there you have it, guys. That's a quick look at Windows 10 version 1909. Like I said, this isn't a huge update. On the surface, there's very little features to be excited about. Under the hood, there are some improvements such as improved battery life and whatnot, but overall this is a very minor update. But that's okay. This is sort of designed to be that way, and I think most users won't mind updating to this because it doesn't really change anything. In fact, I think it improves upon a lot of things, especially with the notifications and being able to customize those notifications much easier now. I think that's a really nice change that Microsoft has added to this release. But there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye. For those looking for a release date for this update, there isn't one just yet. Microsoft hasn't said when it will be rolling out. We just know that it will be sometime in November, likely within the first half. Whilst I have you, make sure you check out some more of our videos and don't forget to subscribe and maybe even click that bell icon so you get notifications whenever we upload a new video.